Okay, so welcome to the third video. Let me just begin by apologizing. I think I said one extra. That's not what I meant to say. I wanted to say extra fix. When there was a brother who said that they're frauds within reggae music. And I'm not going to come to call people that, but I know the reason why I chose my path. And that is authenticity. And you have to be authentic because it's ja music, It's not a product at the end of the day. It's not a product. It only becomes a product because it's a demand, but you have to create the demand. And demand means that people have to kind of like identify with what you're identifying with somehow, some way. You got to say something that resonates with people, and after that comes the product. So you don't set yourself out there as a product. You set yourself out there as somebody who's really responding to how great your art is, and then you want to decorate it as beautiful as you can, whether you sell it or not. Your only commitment is to the quality of the art. That's another thing that Delroy told me. He says, no, you don't try to sell music off of a buzz. You don't create a buzz. That's the last thing you think about. You create quality, and the quality will create a buzz. And that's the crucial part of this issue. I can see as an argument that the promoter from Barcelona, that he's got on the artist in a sense, but I can assure you that many artists really were ready to go soldier it and present the quality, and they were still taken advantage of. So there is another side to this story, because I heard stories from Ascali Selassie, who was selling her calendar at these festivals that they have, among the big ones, the Rototoms and all these, whatever you might want to call them. And she specifically told me that some artists were actually staying in a tent in the area where the fans stay. That was the accommodation given to a reggae artist, at a festival, and at the same time you would have somebody like Alba Rossi who would really get into the culture and master it and then sell the whole thing all over the world. So fortunately, I did not subject myself to that. And the reason why I didn't subject myself to that is because I grew up in Denmark, and I've already been up against that mentality in different areas from since I was a child. So I always knew that I was going to forge my own path, which was going to be I'm my own person. I grew up with a white stepfather. He was a very good man, but he did have his ways, and he had his Danish ways, and he had his white ways. And I'm a youth who has a bloodline of sovereignty running through me. So I was already as a youth finding ways to overcome or to confront the white reality that was now in my family. So what I'm doing right now is my own journey towards finding myself. And so knowing how these mentalities clash, it made me look for drastic ways of dealing with it, and we'll talk more about that later. So I recognize it. I recognize a lot of the frustrations that are a trap for a lot of black people and black artists, and I can just say to them, look, there's only one way out, and that's serious self-discipline and serious authenticity and serious sticking to the message and serious sacrifice. That's why I have a walk from Cape Town to Cairo. That's why my entire thing is based around walking from Cape Town to Cairo. And I say, look, what do I have? I have Africa, and I have my feet, and I have reggae, and I have Bob, and Peter, and Bunny. With those ingredients, I have enough to ignore whatever the business is doing over there and say, I can do it myself, my own way, because the message says Africa, the message says His Majesty, you know, and the message says my feet are my only carriage, you know. So, so I said, be strong, and no matter what, do it your way. So I can tell you a little story while growing up. Is I've always been a careless youth. My dad, my white dad, bless his soul, he bought me some Legos, you know, and of course, me being a youth, I was just taking that for granted. So little by little, I lost Lego pieces, you know, and I just took it for granted. You know, Dad, he has money, he's white. And I said, Dad, I need a new box of Legos. I said, what happened to the old one? Oh, Dad, you know, I kind of like lost the pieces little by little. And he said, look, man, look, if I buy you Legos, it's so that you should take care of every single piece of those. Don't lose a single one. That's your responsibility, you know? And basically, he says, look, you're an African kid. Your friends are making their own toys. You can do that too. And I was like, yeah, of course. So I just went out and started creating my own toys like my friends, and I love what my friends were doing, you know. So and one time my dad came and saw a city that I had built out of cardboard and sticks and everything, and he looked at it and says, very good, Jimmy, very good, Jimmy. And I felt so proud, you know. So then something inside of me just told me that as long as I create my own, you know, this man is going to respect me. So it's very funny. It's a funny story. It's a funny story about a white man who came to develop Africa and took me from farm to farm because he was an agriculture advisor and everything, and I picked up a lot of things from him. And the way he did things and the way he went about things with this serious authenticity is what I adopted in that sense. And but then again, it's also what gave him a heart attack, because he could not know that I was gonna come across Rastafari. But by the time I came across Rastafari, now it was just a few months before graduating in school, and then this message from Bob, and it was just like, whoa, what's this? And it's like, whoa, and it exposed all the bullshit. And I just had to say, Dad, I'm leaving school. What you gonna do? I'm going to be a Rasta. What is that? What is Rasta? Poor man. He was sick for a whole week. And my mama couldn't do anything. So they taught me to be independent, but they did not know that I was going to buck up with some serious independence, and I buck up on Rasta. And then I said, well, I leave this. I thought to myself, I must know these people. Who are these people? I must know them. Because I'd been listening to Bob Marley almost since I was 7 years, not listening, hearing it while I was growing up in Africa. It was until I came to Europe and became conscious about pollution and about nuclear war and all those things. And I was hanging around activist youths, activists.